So with the long block now complete, it's time for me to turn my attention to the carbs. So these are the original Weber 40 IDTP 3C carburetor that came on the 69T. And these are like an emissions version of the IDAs that were found on the European cars and later cars. I think the only difference is the progression ports and how the carburetor goes from one circuit to another. The rest is pretty much the same. But unfortunately these are in a little bit of a sorry state. They're covered in grime and dirt and oil and what have you from the years of use. But I think they're in pretty good shape. They just need a really good cleanup and a bit of a rebuild. I have a couple of rebuild kits with all the seals and gaskets and diaphragms and what have you, so we'll be going through all of that. We'll go through, clean them up, take some of the bracketry and get it replated, make it look nice, and put them all back together and get them back on the engine. And I'm going to keep everything organized in these little compartment trays. I bought 2 of these, so left and right. Make sure I keep track of all the nuts and bolts, where they go, and also my camera. And I'm going to take a bunch of photographs of everything to make sure I know where everything goes when I put these things back together. I think I just want to clean these up in the parts washer, get rid of all that loose grime and dirt while everything's still sealed. So I'll try and explain as far as I know what's going on with these carbs and how they work. The fuel comes in from here, from the fuel pump, and it goes through little screens in here and in past needle and seats which sit here, which meter the gas. Now those needles and seats push against this little tab on the float, so when the fuel level rises, the float rises, and the little tab down here pushes on these needles and seats and meters the flow of the gas. This one's a little stuck. Look, they come in a kit to replace these, and they all need replacing. So that's how the gas gets into the carburetor. The main jets are on the back of the carb, and these are the main jets. So these 3 here, basically the main jet allows the gas to come up through these tubes here, through a little emulsion tube, and that mixes with air through this air corrector nozzle right here, and that goes into this pre-atomizer, and that pre-atomizer mixes that fuel and air and sprays it down into the venturi, or the choke as it's called. And that, when you open the butterflies on the carburetor, when you step on the gas and it opens the butterflies, that allows that mixture of gas and air to travel into the engine, ignite, and you have power. So that's how that main circuit works. There's a couple of other circuits on the carburetor, and up here are your idle jets. So this will be your idle circuit down here. These little tubes here, and they go down to your air, well, these are the fuel mixture screws to make it richer or leaner. You would adjust these little screws on the back, these spring-loaded screws. These are the air mixture screws, so that's how much air is being allowed into the carburetor. These are the little screws that hold in those venturis, and they're wired in from, safety wired in from the factory. So this looks like it's got its original wiring from the factory still on there. Again, I'm going to get these plated, so I'm going to take these out. These are just the drain plugs for the bowls where the float sits. Again, these are brass. All this stuff is brass, and I'm not going to touch it. And then these are little clean out ports for the actual tube, so you can get in there. No need to touch these, so we're going to leave those alone. So on the front side, we have our accelerator pump. When you actually hit the gas and you pump on the gas, what it's doing is it's, with this little arm here, it's pushing on this little pump here, which has a few diaphragms and a spring inside it. And that will push gas through this circuit, which is the accelerator pump circuit, and through these nozzles here, which spray gas directly into the venturi or the choke, bypassing this method through the main jet and a pre-atomizer, and that just gives you a bit of gas to get the car going. So when you hit the gas a few times before you start it, it's going to spray the actual gas down inside the venturi and give you something to ignite. So that is that circuit. These little screws here are for the floats, so you can take them out, and they're usually safety wired in too, but mine were missing, so when I rebuild this thing, I'll go through it, I'll replace that safety wire and make sure everything's the way it should be. So I am going to take some of this apart. I'm not going to take all of it apart. I might take the front cover off the accelerator pump and get that plated. I'm going to maybe take the end linkage part here off and get that replated, as well as these little screws, adjustment screws. But that's about it. And then I've got a rebuild kit for both carbs. If I'm running a higher compression piston and also a hotter cam, this E-cam, then I need to upgrade my main jet. So that again is the main jet on the back here. These three here are the main jets. So we're going to upgrade the main jets. We're going to upgrade the emulsion tubes, this air corrector, and also we're going to update the venturis. These are a 27mm venturi, quite restrictive. So I think I'm going to go up to a 32 or a 34, which is found on the 911S, to allow more gas and air into the engine. So we're going to upgrade the main jets, the idle jets, the emulsion tubes, the air correctors, and the venturis. So I think this is as far as I'm going to take the strip down of the carburetor. Taking all needles and seats out, as well as the feed tubes from the front on the top. And then on the bottom, taking out all of the jets, all of the venturis, the floats, the pre-atomizers, taking out the diaphragm with the linkage, also the jets on the back, the idle jets and the main jets, as well as the air mixture screws, or the air screws, and then these are the mixture screws. I'm going to leave the linkage alone. I'm not going to touch this. I just don't want to deal with it. So it seems to be in good shape. So we'll leave all that as is, but I'll get this cleaned up and cleaned out all little passages where the jets are and everything, and it should be as good as new. So for more videos, please like and subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram at Cavs911.